Hi, it's 85 time here on Rauta. 5 albums or releases quickly come true. Let's start with Finnish black metal band called Chephreon. This is actually quite new release and a quick continuation. The previous demo, which I featured earlier this year. Actually, this is something like fourth or fifth Chephreon release this year, which makes me wonder why so hasty, why so quickly. It seems like this band is just kind of a running through their demo phase, the learning experience, as this band was already founded in 2019 already, and by this time they are already doing a full-length album called Necromancy, which is here. This seems to be press copy of 988 releases. I don't know if there is some political message to this limit, but here you go. This is CDR, as you can see. And it seems all their bands releases have been either just digital only or CDR, so self-finance is the key here. And as you can see, this is pretty much like copy machine paper, not real print from factory. So there you have it, full-length album. To be honest, this is very much the same quality as the previous release. So it's still like this band is very much in the demo phase. I mean, they have lots of same ideas than with their band Morgal from the same city of Mikkeli, but it seems like this band is still trying to focus on what is their thing. They're kind of like figuring out it. Kind of like melodic heavy metal riffing here and there, and still kind of a rawish black metal. And the production is more like what you can expect from a rehearsal room takes. To be honest, I don't think this band is bad, but it's still very much just in the development progress phase. It's like they're just pushing all the songs out there and, like I said, figuring out what to do. In my opinion, this is way too hasty for the band's own good. I mean, people should be taking a look in the past, like bands like Death did like a dozen demos before actually recording a full-length album. And lots the same thing applies to a lot of older bands nowadays. It seems like every band must be so hasty, so like, hey, we just founded this band last week, now this is our second demo already out, let's just put them all forward. And it gives me a very unprofessional feeling of the bands. And obviously bands are unprofessional and they are actually pro bands, but I mean, it's not like bands are supposed to put everything out to the audience. Maybe mature a little bit, do a lot of demo recordings by themselves and figure out which way to go and improve the music. This is too hasty and it kind of shows through. It's very mediocre in that sense. The next release is not actually a metal release, but why not feature it, because it's our friends from Dunkelheit Produktionen from Germany. This is a CD called Death Trance by a kind of a provocative, even trollish name, Rape with X's. So basically, well, you do the pronunciation, but it's Rape with X's between the letters. So very provocative name for a band that is not metal at all, but kind of a hybrid or a combination of power electronics and noise. So what you can expect is a lot of noisy songs here, which feature more or less kind of a hypnotic feeling, kind of a hissing and kind of a machine-like stuff. Even some vocals are included. To be honest, I'm no expert in anything, and even less with when it comes to power electronics or noise or other subgenres of this kind of music. But what to expect is not much rhythms, no riffs or melodics, obviously, not singing as such, but more like noise, power electronics playing with kind of a martial vibe, if you feel. It's like a kind of a factory noise mixed with some other elements which kind of create this nice blend. But to be honest, it gets really repetitive after a while. So unless you're a hardcore fan with an acquired taste for this or these genres, I don't know if this will offer much content to you. I find it quite listenable, but to be honest, I'm no fan of the genre or the genres included. I'm more into dark ambient stuff when I'm not listening to metal, and I still want to go with dark music. This is not as such dark, more like hypnotic and a little bit martial in feeling. So, if you are familiar with the genres mentioned, why not give it a try? Third one is from United States of America by a band called The Offering. There's another metal band with the same name, but don't get confused. And this is their debut album called Home. Looks nice, already signed to Century Media, which is the label releasing this one. And it seems somebody has clearly seen a lot of potential with this band. And I can understand. Let's start with the good things. First of all, the band here is very talented when it comes to, playing music. As you can see, I'm just quickly browsing through the lyrics. Since this is indie 5, I'm not gonna pause for you to read them. Anyhow, it's clear that this band has a lot of skill and talent when it comes to singing and playing those instruments. This is a four-man band, and that's it. That's the amount of good sides I can find about this album, because this is honestly one of the most annoying metal albums, or albums in the first place, I have been listening this year. Why so? Let's start to put into the pieces quickly. It's kind of like metalcore, but with the twist of, I don't know, Devin Townsend going into studio with System of a Down guys and then asking some Slipknot guys to kind of produce this album, and like, let's create something wild, power metal vocals, metalcore songs, let's add some heavy death metal growly vocals, but let's not play trash death kind of a hybrid, but more like metalcore power heavy metal hybrid, which makes no sense at all. It's clearly kind of an obvious thing that this is done with a lot of money, because the sound as such, the guitars and everything, is kind of like very powerful. It's kind of clinical even, but I mean it's done with a lot of skill and money, except for the dynamics, which is not that good. I mean, everything seems like it's just like a bowl of good sound and thrown on your face and all that stuff, like, oh, deal with it. And this could actually benefit more, let's say, clear and kind of a more detailed sound. But I mean, I'm not gonna complain about it, because if this was kind of like a death metal release, the sound, the production overall would be actually quite nice. Now, the vocalist has a great range of sound. I mean, the way he can actually bend his voice is actually quite incredible, but it's also so goddamn annoying that I would like to choke this guy to death. I mean, it actually sounds like he's a guy trying to sing like a woman, which I don't find very captivating. I mean, I love when good female vocals are presented to me. I just adore them. And I don't have a problem man doing girly vocals or female vocals or whatever you want to call them, but the way that he actually does this is very, very annoying. It's like the worst of power metal elements put into a genre or album that is not power metal. So instead of having these kind of heavy metal or power metal, melodies and riffs, which would actually make sense way more than this hybrid, it's actually blended with kind of a metalcore-ish thing. And to me, it is just like very, very annoying. I rarely go as much mad about any album release as this one. I went through it like 3 times, and I was just ready to give up after like half the album. But obviously, kind of like my point of as a review, guys, look, go everything through at least 3 times. Sometimes it might be 10 times or whatever, but I really couldn't push myself that, because I would have just, had to take a, I don't know, drill and do holes in my ears. This is very, very annoying album. I know there are plenty of people who actually enjoy this, and I kind of get it, because, I mean, not all people are actually extreme metal. But I don't know who this is to serve, because this is not clearly the next Slipknot. This is not your next Korn. This is not your next Five Finger Death Punch. And this is by no means an extreme metal album. It tries to be so extreme, but at the same time, like I said, it feels like David Townsend kind of crazy, System of a Down guys kind of crazy. Those are, by the way, bands System of a Down and Five Finger Death Punch, which I just cannot stand. So I'm totally wrong audience for this album to begin with, but since it was sent for me to review, I had to push myself to the limits. Now, very, very annoying album. I want to underline that. I challenge you to listen to at least 2 songs, full songs by this album, and if you can enjoy them, then you're gonna like the whole album. I found like one good guitar solo on the album, and that was the only likable part, and that song was like something ridiculous, like 14 minutes, 44 seconds, and most of it was just crap, annoying stuff. I don't know why Century Media decided to put this out. Maybe it's just, let's make it the next big metalcore thing, but very, very annoying album. Now, the next 2 albums are gonna be a little bit better, so let's switch to that. The 4th one on this Indie 5 episode is a band called Spell of Dark, with this album called The Vastness. Now, this is an album that first gave me kind of a nice feeling with its atmospheric melodic black metal, being a solo project that takes me to dimensions and places where these kind of dark woods take place, where there are these lonely cabins and everything is just cold, dark, grim, and all that stuff. Melancholic as well. But with more spins and even with more tracks, it started to kind of give me this indication that I think I've heard this like a million times before, and these songs are not actually that good. It's all like taking me this distance, like, yeah, it's pretty okay, but it's still mediocre in its own genre. Now, this is kind of an album that is best with, short snippets here and there, because then you actually make you giving this feeling that, hey, this is something that's really special, really enjoyable. But the deeper you go, the more it starts to repeat itself, and it kind of gets feeling like, okay, this is very, very much like demo level of experience. And everything is just something quite okay, but that's it. There is no cigar, there is no bigger reward, there is no gratification listening to this one. It's just like one of those albums you're like, okay, it's pretty okay, but I won't miss it if it just disappears like that from my table. So, kind of a tricky album for big fans of atmospheric black metal. This might be something really nice to listen to and enjoy it, but for others who are more picky, I wouldn't go for this one. Obviously, you do the decision for yourself. There is link, so be sure to check out. But the last one on this Indie 5, I think this is probably the best one with this deal. Let's take a look. Last and definitely not least on this Indie 5 is a reissue, first time on vinyl, by a band called Q, which means roughly translated Viper. And this is their first album called Beyond Flesh, Beyond Matter, Beyond Death. Very traditional selection of colors, as you can see. It's all just black and red. And here is the track list. Not much else. And as you can see, this is released by the Clandestine Coven. As you can see, under exclusive license from the Saturn Records, which is, by the way, the label the vocalist is the boss of. And, well, obviously, he wanted to release the band on his own label, which kind of makes sense. I don't know, to be honest, why this LP reissue was not done in that way, but that's beyond this review anyway. Now, this is pretty much the same deal as with the CD, obviously. There are no bonus tracks, there is nothing special. Basically the difference is now the layout is in typical LP version, so the lyrics are quite small. I mean, if you are like me, that you're getting the old age affecting your vision, this is rather small font to read, but I mean, it's doable. And if you don't, get a pair of glasses. But other than this is basically the very, very same record. Nothing has, as far as I know, changed since that. So it's not like there are different versions which you should be having. Now the question is, are you an LP fanatic or do you prefer CDs? Either way, the music is the same and it's still, luckily, good stuff. Now, Q's music is kind of a typical black metal. It's very dark, it's satanic, it's mostly fast tempo, and it's diverse enough to keep us entertained and enjoyed throughout the album. Now, Goo is not the most memorable type of black metal. That is, it's not one of those hit song thing. There is no female vocals, no acoustic guitar parts, no nonsense keyboards used. So it's basically like the very essence of black metal. Kind of a simplified, but still diverse enough to just make it worthwhile listening to. Now, the sound is pretty okay. It's actually pretty good, but then again, it's not mind-blowing. And same can be said basically on any aspect of the album, be it, the production, be it vocals and stuff like that. This is very all-around solid album, which I think totally deserves your attention. I enjoyed when I got the CD, and I felt that it's a good album. And now some time has passed since I have been listening to, so it felt like a kind of fresh start when I just was listening to this LP, and I was still enjoying it very much like the first time when I just put the CD on the player. So I think it is one of those albums which is not probably mentioned when the best bands of any given country is listed, but it's also one of those albums that should not be, or bands that should not be forgotten when we're talking about good black metal bands or good black metal albums. So once again, maybe not the most memorable ones, but still one of those albums and bands that should be getting more attention because they are delivering some good stuff here. So make sure you give these guys at least a possibility. Go check out the samples and maybe you will like them. And also be sure to check out the Q interview, which we did a couple of years ago already, one of the first ones actually. So you will hear some thoughts of the main man, the vocalist. And there you have it. Should you have any questions about this episode of Indie 5 or any of these releases, be sure to drop a comment on the box below and I'll get back to you. Have fun listening to those new albums and hope you enjoy at least something. Take care and stay metal.